Greetings, wise acolytes of the galaxy, and welcome back to the archives. A Jedi is supposed to be known for their compassion. Unfortunately, that truth isn't always lived out in the entire order. The greater public knows the Jedi for their efficiency in adjudicating swift justice. This is seen no more clearly than when a Jedi must confront those who are infected with the dark side. A little while back, we did a holocron opening detailing how the Jedi felt about dark Jedi, and how they even pitied them somewhat and offered them a helping hand when necessary. In that holocron, we touched on their feelings regarding the Sith, and how they choose not to offer help to them or try to redeem them at all, in contrast to their feelings to the dark Jedi. In this holocron though, we wanted to expand on that topic and go deeper into why the Jedi seem to pronounce any Sith they meet with an immediate death sentence, seemingly never attempting to redeem a Sith Lord. The Sith have been the ideological enemies of the Jedi for around 7,000 years. Several millennia is a long time to be at war with someone, so clearly those scars are going to remain and go very deep. Though a general distaste for an enemy is a rather petty reason to choose not to make any attempt at redemption, so we don't believe that it is entirely this that lies in hard feelings and emotional bias. What alarms us to this topic is that the Jedi tend to treat any of their members who fall to the dark side and the Sith as a complete and total loss. Not only do they write the fallen ones off as failures, but the Jedi will immediately seek to destroy this new Sith. Even Obi-Wan Kenobi knew exactly what it meant when he saw the security tapes in the Jedi Temple and witnessed his own apprentice in Anakin killing their brethren. He pledged with Yoda to allow him to go after the Emperor, and even stated that he couldn't kill his own brother. This was after Yoda said with finality, "Destroy the Sith, we must." Both of them already knew what it meant when Anakin turned to the dark side, and the first, and apparently the only thing that came to their minds, was instant death for the young chosen one. Even on Mustafar, Obi-Wan's speech to Anakin wasn't so much of him trying to plead with his former Padawan, or convince him that what he was doing was wrong. No, instead, it seemed to us that Obi-Wan just sort of berated him, which only served to shut Anakin down further. Yes, it was an emotional time for Obi-Wan, and he had every right to accuse Anakin. However, this was an incredibly delicate moment that perhaps the man known as the Negotiator should have handled with more tact. In his rage, Anakin had just choked his pregnant wife, which may have been a good angle for Obi-Wan to start with, appeal to his humanity after Padme had tried to. Rather than do this though, Obi-Wan said the very iconic phrase, "Only the Sith deal in absolutes." Now I'll go ahead and cut Master Kenobi some slack. He did just learn Anakin killed a building full of children, so it's understandable that he assumed his Padawan was too far gone. But this was someone Obi-Wan had known for over 10 years. Obi-Wan practically raised Anakin, so couldn't there have been a different way, or a different attempt? I'd like to break down what Obi-Wan says when he says only the Sith deal in absolutes. This highly misunderstood phrase has perpetuated the proof of the Jedi's ignorance. Their very code is full of absolutes, but we'd like to restate what we did in the former holocron. You see, the Sith abide by a code as well. They have a very specific doctrine that goes against everything the Jedi believe in, which they follow for the sake of delving as deeply as possible into the dark side. Sith practice the dark side for objectively religious purposes, just like how the Jedi study the light for the same reasons. When Obi-Wan said, "Only the Sith deal in absolutes," I believe he was referring to the fact that the Sith trick themselves into thinking that their dark deeds are for noble goals, and follow a creed that encourages this, while in reality, they simply crave power and domination. The Sith preach about freedom in the dark side, but are just as deceived into putting themselves into a different kind of bondage than the Jedi are. Their lust for power and belief in their own lies makes them stiff-necked and stubborn, unwilling to face the consequences of their own actions or admit to needing redemption in the first place. We can see this as Obi-Wan leaves the ship on Mustafar after Anakin chokes Padme and yells at Obi-Wan for allegedly turning her against him. The Jedi Master says these words, "Your anger and lust for power has already done that." Obi-Wan at first was trying to get Anakin to see the error of his ways by throwing all of his dark deeds and mistakes back at his feet. Unfortunately, all this did was made Anakin angrier and prove what the Jedi believe, which is that the Sith refuse to acknowledge mistakes. Right after Anakin starts proclaiming his allegiance to his new empire and denounces his own brother as his enemy, Obi-Wan finally sees that he is far beyond any help and says the classic line, "I will do what I must." And with that, their lightsabers ignite and the battle ensues. Breaking down that interaction between Anakin and Obi-Wan prior to their climactic duel is absolutely critical in understanding why the Jedi write off all Sith as complete failures and dangerous lost causes. They've been at war with the Sith Order for thousands of generations. The Sith may have changed tactics and even their philosophy towards domination, but their ideology regarding other people and the Force has remained the same. Sith don't want to repent because they enjoy their darkness. They enjoy the feeling of power and will do anything to get another hit of the dark side drug, no matter what it costs them. They may be powerful, but it costs them everything, and they allow blinds to be put on their eyes towards what their actions are ultimately causing. They become a freight train racing towards inescapable suffering and death by their own hand and their own actions. The Jedi may have been arrogant, blind, and ignorant towards many things, but they never lost sight of the single truth. We all know that Revan was redeemed though through a mind wipe, and that Bastila and Vader were redeemed through the power of love that Luke and Revan discovered. Ironically, the very thing that the Jedi think will lead one to the dark side, which is love and attachment, is actually the very thing that can save them from it. Interesting how that works out. In the end, it is all this war, all this death, and the fact that beyond anything, young Jedi are taught extremely early that the Sith are the ultimate weapon to their order. They stand against absolutely everything that the Jedi believe in. And while a dark Jedi subscribes to the dark side of the Force, but not a religious philosophy, therefore, they can be redeemed in the eyes of the Jedi. They are simply misguided and are not completely lost. However, when one pledges themselves to an order to be completely selfish and to only seek out power, things that the Jedi strictly teach against, it is a complete and utter pendulum shift. They are deemed as completely gone, and it took a new generation of Jedi in Luke Skywalker to redeem his father. But it should also be stated that following this, Luke was very careful around Sith, and although he would attempt to redeem them in his own right, his own nephew in Jacen Solo, Darth Caedus, was unable to be redeemed, which just goes to illustrate just how rare this is. Yoda, a being who talked frequently about doing the right thing and believing there is good in others, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, the very brother to Anakin Skywalker, both deemed Darth Vader guilty of crimes and subscribing himself to a practice that deemed him worthy of death. The Jedi do not even attempt to redeem the Sith because they are simply too dangerous. When a Jedi becomes a Sith Lord, this is a grand, final decision and a show that they now not only hate the Jedi and their fellow brethren, but that the galaxy around them that the Jedi swear to protect no longer matters to them whatsoever. The Sith use the galaxy for power and have no desire to protect it whatsoever. In fact, they will tear it down and destroy it if it means that they can gain more and become more. But anyway, my friends and acolytes, this is why Jedi don't bother ever trying to attempt to even redeem Sith, and this is why it was so incredibly rare when a Jedi did attempt to. I hope you enjoyed this holocron. As always, we want to know your thoughts on this subject in the comments down below, as we add to the ever-expanding archives. Do you agree with the Jedi's ultimate assessment on the Sith? Or do you think that with the proper amount of love and understanding, that just about anyone can be saved from the clutches of the dark side? Please let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And as always, my friends, I hope that you have a great day, and I hope to hear from you soon.